What is the biggest problem that American society is faced with today? Is it the war in the Middle East? Global warming? Racial inequality? While this topic can be heavily debated due to differing opinions, one cannot ignore the overwhelming effect of gun violence in our nation. The United States has an estimated 270 million guns that lie in civilian hands, and is among the leaders in countries with the most deaths by guns. The reason gun violence gets swept under the rug as a huge issue in the USA is because the general public is not informed about it. While gun shootings are usually covered by major news sources, we have grown so accustomed to them as a nation that they are just a normal occurrence when we hear about them on television. Unfortunately, the only time we become cognizant of the detrimental effect of guns on our nation is when there is a tragic mass shooting that appeals to pathos, such as the Sandy Hook or Virginia Tech school shootings. Statistically speaking, the younger generation is the demographic that is most affected by gun violence, something that most Americans don't know. I randomly selected and interviewed a few Penn State students to see how much they were informed about gun statistics in the U.S. In addition to this, gun-related incidents are one of the leading causes of death in our country, following disease and car accidents.
Excuse me, do you know the main age group that is affected by gun violence in the USA?
Is it 50 to 60?
What if I told you it was 14 to 24?
That is really young. Oh my God.
Excuse me, sir, do you know the main age group affected by gun violence in the USA?
21, 22-year-olds.
Or I told you it was 14 to 24-year-olds.
Wow, that's pretty young.
We currently stand at a staggering 30,000 people killed annually by guns. Roughly 30 people shot and murdered each day, with 1/3 of them being under the age of 20, and a world-leading 10,000 gun homicides per year.
Excuse me, do you know how many gun-related deaths there are per year in the USA?
Per year? If I had to guess, probably like 5,000.
It's actually 30,000.
Oh God,
Excuse me,
30,000
do you know how many gun-related deaths there are per year in the USA?
Per year? 10,000?
It's actually 30,000.
30,000? Wow.
When delving into this topic, the rhetorical audience to focus on is the young adults and teenagers of America. This is for two reasons. One, they are the demographic that is directly affected by gun violence, and two, they are the future of our country, and if we inform them now, they will be the ones who can make a difference in the years to come.
The real problem lies within the separation of federal and state powers. This is the main source of the problem because it prevents the country as a whole from having a unifying stance on guns. This leaves our country split on the issue and therefore leaving the problem unresolved.
I care passionately about. So here is my position, loud and clear. I'm in favour of a nationwide ban on military-style semi-automatic assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. I want to close the gun show loopholes and require private dealers to run background checks on buyers at gun shows. And I'd like to see the President increase federal funding for mental health treatment for all Americans who need it. I think these are entirely reasonable reactions to the outrages that have occurred in America over the last few months.
In that snippet, Piers Morgan expresses a few of his beliefs on how guns should be regulated in the U.S. Other regulations could possibly include distribution of guns handled by the national government rather than the state, activities of said individual being monitored before they are allowed to possess a gun, individuals being tested to ensure that they are mentally stable and deserve the right to own a gun, and individuals being educated on gun safety and gun laws in their state before they are allowed to own the weapon.
I believe that the primary solution to reducing gun violence in our nation is to spread awareness. Before we can conjure a solution, we must inform the public and present to them just how detrimental unregulated gun presence is to our society. If we are able to make people aware of this problem, we can work on finding a resolution to it, unified as one nation.